So the job today was transformer maintenance.
You've got a lot to think about then.
Can a drain earth be traced?
Okay, primary earth?
Well remembered.
Hello and welcome to the RWE Renewables podcast. My name's Neil and today I'm talking to Jim all about his duties as a competent person and why they're so important.
No problem, it's good to be back.
Tell me about your role here and how long you've been doing it.
So, I've worked for RWE Renewables for a number of years now. I'm a contractor, so I come back to work the projects as a working party leader.
Do you need a competent person qualification to do that?
Yeah, but it just means I'm authorised to work on certain tasks on site and to supervise a working party.
To be a competent person, does that mean you've just got to be excellent at your job?
Well, it's partly that, but I mean, really, it's just about being responsible for the health and safety of your working party, for any other RWE Renewable colleagues, and of course, any visitors to the site.
Sounds pretty responsible to me.
It is. As a competent person, it's your duty to establish and maintain general safety on whatever task you're supervising.
Where do you even begin to work out how to do that?
Well, there are clear procedures to follow and documents to help you through. RWE's health and safety policy really shapes everything we do. It's all detailed in the safety rules. We spent a day filming on site, so why don't I talk you through the footage and show you what I mean?
Oh, good idea.
So the job today was transformer maintenance. Before you begin any task, there must be a safe method of work in place. This means the task has been assessed to identify any hazards and suitable controls have been put in place to prevent harm. As a working party leader and competent person, I'm given a work pack which includes the method statement and risk assessment. These help me understand what the work is.
It looks like this outlines all the work-related safety issues you've got to consider.
That's right. I mean, it sets out what the hazards are with the task and measures I need to take to keep me and my working party safe. For example, the work pack contained a cost assessment of the transformer oil, but on the day of the work itself, I also had to consider the environmental dangers.
Right. We talked about those in our general safety podcast. If I remember, the working party leader addresses these by going through the tamper checklist.
Well remembered. So under the operational safety rules, I'm known as a competent person, but equally importantly, for the actual job, I'm the working party leader. It's my responsibility to address all the safety aspects covered by tamper. That means tools, access, the method of work, PPE and area of work. It's down to me and my colleagues to maintain safety by keeping on top of all these factors.
And that's on top of what we call inherent dangers.
That's right, yeah. Before I let my team start work, I need to be happy that the inherent dangers, which are dangers from the system of work itself, have been addressed.
So, talk me through the issues you faced in this task.
Well, as you can see, we're working in an area where, as well as potential hazards of the transformer oil, electricity is an inherent danger. The safety rules set out the stages we need to go through before work can begin safely. First, the apparatus needs to be identified and released from an operational state. Next, energy isolation must be applied by putting appropriate safety precautions in place. These must be applied and verified before any work can begin.
You've got a lot to think about then.
Well, I do, but, I'm not alone. Even before I arrive on site, there are other people thinking over this job and planning a safe way to get it done.
So, more than one person looks at this. That must reassure you. I mean, we're all human, we all make mistakes, but if there's more than one person looking at a task, any mistakes or oversights are more likely to get picked up.
That's right. It's always good to get a fresh pair of eyes on things. So for my task today, a senior authorised person, or SAP, as we refer to them, looks at all the available technical information on the inherent dangers around the task. So if we had to, say, lay hands on electrical apparatus, then that senior authorised person decides the steps to make it safe. They fill in a switching instruction, which usually follows a sequence of opening circuit breakers, isolation of disconnector switches, and the application of a primary earth.
Okay, primary earth?
So this is the key device for avoiding electrocution, so really important to consider. The electrical parts we're working on must be physically connected to Earth and fully rated to deal with any unforeseen faults. I mean, it's not just the safe thing to do. There's actually a legal requirement to ensure this happens. The entire written procedure of switching from initial switching off through making safe to when I'm involved is checked by a second senior authorised person. An SAP will then instruct an authorised person about the actual switching. This formal dialogue includes confirming, understanding and agreeing times.
Sounds like there are a lot of people involved.
In reality, there are two people to do the prep, checking and carrying out the switching. But then I'm the third person to confirm I'm happy. I mean, there's no rule that states that one person can't do more than one role, but RWE insists that where possible, there are a minimum of two separate people involved.
Going back to the idea that the more fresh eyes you have on the procedure, the better.
Exactly. Ultimately, the green light for me to go ahead with work is being formally issued with a safety document. But this has to happen at the point of work if I'm going to touch electrical conductors.
Okay, quick question. Is there any way someone outside your work party could jeopardise the safe method of work you've established?
It's a good point, but there are some key steps that the authorised person and SAP carry out to physically prevent someone turning the energy back on while me and my team are working.
Yeah, a piece of paper alone isn't going to be enough.
Here you can see the authorised person completing each individual step of the switching. These devices prohibit operation, so the authorised person locks these with a unique lock, applies a caution notice and keeps the keys safe until they can be secured in a key safe by the SAP. These key safes normally have several locks, any one of which will lock the entire box. The SAP gives me a key for this box along with my safety document so that neither of us can switch anything without the other one agreeing.
That seems a pretty comprehensive way of ensuring that electricity doesn't hurt anyone.
Hugely important. With electricity, you don't usually get any warning before it affects you. I mean, you can't see it, smell it, or even really feel it until it's too late. And we all know that the result can be instantly fatal.
So, the switching's complete, keys are locked away, and the SCP is ready to formally issue you with the safety document and the key safe key. Are you happy to proceed with the work?
Yeah, but not before I'm satisfied that everything's been done. Before I accept the safety document, I expect the contents to be read to me. I then want to see, within reason, the switches showing off, and I want the SAP to prove to me that the apparatus is safe before I touch it.
How does the SAP feel about all these demands?
Hey, they're as diligent with me as I am with them. They need to know that I know what I'm doing. They check that I know the extent of my work, that I recognise the area I'm allowed into and items I can touch, but more importantly, that I recognise the areas I'm not allowed into and the equipment I cannot touch. There might also be other actions that I still have to complete.
Is everything always in the safety document?
Well, you might get other documents as well, such as an earthing schedule or selected persons report, or any other written instructions or procedures that relate to the work. As I take over from the SAP by signing the document and start to undertake my responsibilities to the working party, the SAP and I will agree that the parts are dead. There are several ways to do this. Can the conductors be traced without interruption from the primary earth point to the work area? Can a drain earth be traced? Have the parts been checked with a voltage indicating device?
Okay, you're going to have to take me through those in a bit more detail.
So the primary earth I mentioned earlier will already be in place. A drain earth is a supplementary earth that can deal with what's known as impressed voltage conditions. This is a hazardous level of energy that can be present even in an earth conductor. If the drain earth is something I have to apply, then the SAP will issue me with an earthing schedule. We discussed this when I'm issued the safety document. But if we can't practically do either of these things, then the SAP will prove dead.
So, you know all about the hazards and their controls. Does that mean you're ready to start work?
Well, yeah, the next step is to go through the method statement and risk assessment with the working party and make sure we're all familiar with what needs to be done. I mean, it's no good if I'm the only person who knows the safety issues. It's up to everybody on site to establish and maintain general safety. So I've got to make sure that my working party know all the safety issues as well. I do this by holding a safety briefing before any work begins. This can have a different name depending on the task. It could be a toolbox talk or pre-task brief, but the point of it is the same: to inform my team about the safety issues so that they have all the information they need to maintain safety as they work. But throughout the work, it's up to me to ensure that everybody in the working party adheres to the safety document. I need to monitor the tasks and address any issues which arise.
What happens to the safety document once you've gone through it with your working party?
So I keep hold of it, along with anything else like key safe keys. I hold on to them until the work is done, unless the safety document is transferred or placed in safe custody.
You mentioned the selected persons report. What's this?
On rare occasions, there may be a particular hazard associated with the work. It could be something like hot work or work in confined spaces. We'd receive a selected persons report which would detail any other measures we'd need to take to keep us all safe.
You talk about making sure that your team follows the safety procedures. Does that mean personally supervising their work?
I mean, it can do, depending on the task and the team members. I might have to provide immediate supervision or personal supervision. I give immediate supervision by default. It means I visit all areas of the job as required to keep everyone safe. I give personal supervision if an SAP had told me that the system danger was higher and required the supervisor, in this case that's me, to intervene to stop work at once if the task becomes dangerous. But also I might decide to undertake personal supervision if I have someone in the working party who's got limited experience.
Okay, say something does happen to compromise safety. What do you do then?
If any hazards or dangers arise, I must instruct everyone in the working party to withdraw from the area and not work on the plant or apparatus. I then immediately inform the senior authorised person. We won't be allowed to continue work until the issue has been resolved and safety re-established by removing or containing any hazards.
And does the SAP oversee this event?
Yes, and this is important. They might have put demarcation arrangements in place due to nearby hazards, so they need to review them if the situation has changed.
What do you mean by demarcation?
To ensure safety from nearby system dangers, the SAP may have decided to erect some barriers or fix danger signage to limit my work area. I would then know that I am not safe to work outside of these. Any demarcation equipment put in place will also be written on the safety document.
So this goes back to the inherent dangers we mentioned earlier.
That's right, yeah. And there are several inherent hazards. Between the safety document, the conversation with the SAP and the method statement, there will be information on how to deal with the inherent hazards that the system presents. This could be things like electricity, mechanical danger from springs under tension or pressurised gas. But again, any measures taken would be recorded on the safety document.
We've mentioned the safety document a lot. What does it look like?
Well, actually, as a competent person, I could receive one of two different safety documents. The most common is a permit for work, and this is used when we need to work on high voltage parts. It will list the isolations and earthing that have been applied, as I told you about earlier. The other document is a limited work certificate. This is used in situations where we can keep safe by limiting the work area, so we're always a safe distance from the dangers in the high voltage system.
Okay, regardless of which type you're given, can you just go through what details you need to be clear on?
Sure, yeah. The safety document contains a fair bit of information. It's prepared by the SAP and it must contain details such as the name of the site, the identity of the apparatus, and a summary of the work to be done. It details any switching precautions that have already been done, as well as anything else the SAP needs to record to keep me and my work party safe. As a recipient, I sign to acknowledge that I understand the work I'm able to do under this safety document and any precautions that are in place.
Once you've finished the task or come to the end of your shift, can you just leave the area if you're confident it's safe?
It's a bit more formal than that. Before I can clear a safety document, I must ensure that everyone working under that document has been withdrawn from the work area and warned not to continue work on the plant or apparatus. We must ensure that all tools, gear and loose material have been removed from the work area, and any guards and access doors that have been removed have been replaced. Any exceptions to this must be noted in the clearance section of the safety document and explained to the senior authorised person. And of course, I'll have to return all keys, documents and anything else associated with the safety document.
What if you can't finish the work in the time you have on the day?
I first make sure that the working party is withdrawn and know they're not to work on the plant or apparatus. I pass all associated keys, documents and any other items to the senior authorised person. I then sign part 1 of the transfer record on the safety document to show I'm no longer in charge of the work. The SAP signs part 2 and places the document in safe custody.
Then what happens the next day?
The SAP reissues the document by signing part 3, and I, or a new competent person, also signs part 3 to receive the document and return to work. Obviously, the SAP will go through the document in full, covering all aspects, whether it's me or a new competent person receiving it. The work can then be continued.
And that's another task completed successfully and safely. Can you summarise what you think your main duty is as a competent person?
It's not just about establishing general safety on a task. It's about maintaining it.
And you do that by?
Remaining alert to any hazards that can appear. This could be because of the way a team member is working, or changes in weather conditions, or any other aspects of the task or working conditions. Don't just keep an eye out for yourself. Make sure your whole team is working safely, and stop work anytime you feel safety has been compromised. Don't just keep an eye out for yourself. Make sure your whole team is working safely, and stop work anytime you feel safety has been compromised. It's up to all of us to look out for each other.
That's pretty clear. Thanks so much for talking me through your work today. It's probably time for you to get back to your day job now.
Yep, I've got a shift to get to.
Well, thank you very much, Jim. If you've got any questions about anything you've seen in this film, you can ask your site representative or your supervisor.